I told you that you could get to Europe, Australia, or New Zealand without flying, would you think I was crazy? Would you rather fly to Europe in 8 to 12 hours, or would you rather spend a week or two crossing the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans on a cruise ship? I get asked this question a lot. What if I told you that I never fly both ways across an ocean anymore? I always cruise one direction and fly the other. This type of traveling depends on your travel style, when you want to travel, your budget, and how much time you have. Today, we're talking about why more travelers are replacing long haul flights with transatlantic and transpacific cruises, and whether it's actually the right choice for you. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I've been planning vacations for over 30 years. Today, I'm going to share with you why cruising across an ocean versus flying could be the right choice for you. Grab a coffee or a cocktail, a notepad and a pen, and let's get started. Let's start with time. I'll be honest, time is probably the biggest factor in your decision making. The flight from the East Coast to Europe is usually 7 to 9 hours. From the West Coast, you're looking at closer to 10 to 12 hours, plus a possible connection and layover. A transatlantic cruise from the East Coast, on the other hand, is usually somewhere between 7 and 16 days, depending on the itinerary and the cruise line. Cunard Cruise Line does this crossing from New York to Southampton, England, throughout the year in 7 days without stopping in a single port. Most other cruise lines take 14 to 16 nights, stopping at 3 to 4 ports along the way, but these crossings only happen twice a year and only for a handful of their ships. These happen in the spring and the fall, and they're called repositioning cruises. If you're trying to maximize a week or two vacation, flying is always the better choice. But if you're retired, if you work remotely, or if you're planning to spend several weeks or even a month in Europe, suddenly those extra days at sea don't feel like lost time. They become part of the vacation. Now let's talk about the cost, because a lot of people assume cruising across the Atlantic is very expensive. Sometimes it is, but repositioning cruises can actually be surprisingly affordable. Remember that cruises include your accommodation, your meals, your entertainment, and in this case, your transportation to Europe for less than you might expect. But you'll still need to buy a flight home. It's worth comparing costs. Don't just look at the cruise fare versus the airfare. Think about everything that's included. The costs begin to add up for flights. On a cruise, since your room, meals, entertainment, and transportation across the ocean are all bundled together, the total value can become very competitive. Now, let me tell you what I usually do. I have taken 6 Atlantic crossings, 3 Pacific crossings, 2 are from Australia and New Zealand, and another from Canada to Japan. I've also been on many round trip long haul flights. The travel days are very long and the flights are very expensive and uncomfortable at times, even in business class. I've found that many repositioning cruises cost less than a business class airline ticket. Think about that for a minute. For less than the cost of a business class seat, for 8 to 16 hours, sometimes more, you can spend 7 to 14 nights crossing an ocean on a vacation. Your cabin's included, your meals are included, your entertainment's included, and you arrive to Europe, Australia, or Japan rested instead of exhausted. To me, that's an incredible value. Again, this only works if you have the time. If you're taking a quick vacation, flying definitely makes more sense. But if I'm going to Europe for several weeks or a month, I'm already invested in the time. I'd rather turn that journey into part, if not all, of the vacation. Now let's look at Australia and New Zealand specifically, because these two destinations is where cruising might make more sense to you. These crossings often include visiting the Hawaiian Islands and French Polynesia, where a luxury hotel room can cost more than the entire cruise. Flying from the West Coast, you're looking at 13 to 16 hours for a nonstop flight to get to Australia and New Zealand. From other parts of the country, it's even longer once you add in a connection. I've done these flights round trip a few times, and to be honest, I won't do them again. It's a very long haul. When I go back to Australia, I'll cruise one way and fly the other. Yes, it takes much longer, but the journey is just as important as the final destination. Instead of spending 16 hours confined to an airplane seat, I'd rather spend my days reading a good book, by the pool, eating great food, waking up to an ocean breeze, sleeping in an awesome bed, and arriving rested instead of feeling like I've been hit by a truck. Everyone has a different tolerance for long haul flights. Mine has gotten shorter than it used to be for sure. And that's why I'm not about flying round trip to these destinations any longer. Now, jet lag is one area where cruising has a huge advantage. When you fly to Europe, you almost always arrive exhausted. It can take several days before your body adjusts to the new time zone. On an ocean crossing, though, the clocks are changed gradually. By the time you arrive, you feel much more rested and you're adjusted. If you struggle with jet lag, this alone can be a major benefit. Instead of spending a stressful day navigating airports, long security lines, delays, and cramped airplanes, you're relaxing by the pool, enjoying live entertainment, reading a good book, taking a cooking class on board, watching the sunset, or simply enjoying uninterrupted sea views. Some people absolutely love the sea days, while others discover after 3 or 4 days that they prefer being on land. So, knowing your travel personality is important, but I'll tell you, the sea days tend to go very quickly. So, who should fly rather than cruise? I would recommend flying if you have one, limited vacation time, if you want to maximize the number of days you've spent exploring the country you're going to, and if you don't enjoy long stretches at sea, or if you're traveling for business and a specific event, then you need to get there quickly. Flying is for you. And who should consider a transatlantic or transpacific cruise? I would recommend looking into a crossing if you have several weeks available, if you're retired or have a flexible work schedule, if you enjoy cruising, experience a crossing by ocean, or if you've always wanted to experience an ocean crossing by sea. I don't think one option is better than the other. I've recommended both to clients over the years. The best choice depends on your goals, your budget, and how you like to travel. Sometimes the fastest way is the right way. Sometimes the journey itself becomes the most memorable part of the trip. As someone who loves to cruise, I don't see ocean crossings as a replacement for flying every single time. I see them as another option for a vacation. Sometimes you need to get somewhere quickly, and that's what airplanes are for. But if you have the time, there's something incredibly special about watching one continent disappear behind you and another slowly appear on the horizon a few days later. You simply can't experience that from 35,000 feet. I'd love to hear what you think. Would you rather fly to Europe in a day or spend a week or two crossing the Atlantic on a cruise ship? Would you rather spend 16 hours on a flight to Australia or over 2 weeks at sea visiting some remarkable islands along the way and then adding a few days exploring Australia or New Zealand at the end? If you enjoy a little travel advice from someone who spent more than 30 years helping people plan unforgettable vacations, be sure to subscribe. I'm going on a Trans-Pacific cruise later this year and again in the spring of next year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.